but we don't talk about self-care on the kind of level that most people think of self-care. Like when I talk about self-care, I'm not talking about skincare and bubble baths and massages. Like, yes, and that's
Hmm.
great. And believe me when I tell you I practice all those things religiously, but that will never heal your soul. So if you need to go deeper, which almost everyone does, almost all the time and almost for the rest of their life, like definitely me still all the time,
Hmm.
then there's because yourself is not just your it's not just your meat suit, right? That's not
Yeah.
yourself. Yourself is made up of so many things, just like you were saying earlier with with the idea of being a whole human, a whole being, a whole self. We have our mental health, we have our physical health, we have our emotional health, our spiritual health, our financial health, it just your sexual health, like it just goes on and on. All those
Yeah.
things require care.
What's up, you beautiful beasts? I'm Katie. I'm on a mission to help humans become their favorite versions of themselves and to strive for overall health by healing their relationship to food and exercise, healing their relationship to their body, and most importantly, healing their relationship to themselves, all without ever having to step on a scale. I have had the privilege to talk to all kinds of different humans who have been through a plethora of experiences just being a human and existing. I believe that every single time someone shares their story, at least one person listening will learn from it, be inspired by it, and maybe, just maybe, even change the entire direction of their life. These are the stories of humans unveiling their beautiful beast. Keep listening. This is the Unveiling the Beast podcast. Well, welcome to the Unveiling the Beast podcast.
Thank
Can you
you.
tell the listeners and myself, since we are just meeting for the first time, a little bit about who you are and why you think you are who you are?
Ooh, that is such a good question. It's such a deep question. Well, first of all, my name is April Little. I am a coach and I am also now an author. So I just released my first book about a week and a half ago. So it's been kind of crazy. Really interesting story about how the book came about, which maybe we can dive into later. But in terms of who I am, it's such an interesting question. What I like to not do is kind of list all my roles, because I feel like that's one of the places that women really get stuck. And so
Mm.
I don't like to say, well, I'm a wife and I'm a mom and I'm a grandma and all the things that I kind of am, although I just did say I was a coach, which is a role. But, there's so much more to me than that. I could go on all day about what I am and who I am, right? Like I am an expanding spirit. I am, a learner. I am so many things, but we'll probably get into more of that later too. But yeah, I think usually the thing that people usually do is just kind of list off their roles, which,
Yeah.
as far as roles go, I am a wife. I've been married for over 30 years to my husband, and we run businesses together and we coach together. And I do have four beautiful children who are mostly adults now, and I have two beautiful grandchildren. But those are roles, and those are things that I have. They aren't who I am, I guess.
Mm. I love that you say that too, because secretly my intention behind that question every single time is, who are you?
Right.
And I'm always curious to see who will bite, so to speak, like tell me who they are versus what they do.
Right.
And then, the follow-up piece, and I always tell people it's a loaded question, but the follow-up piece, why are
Yes.
you who you are?
Oh, right. I
Which is
forgot
a
that question
loaded
completely.
question.
100%. Why am I who I am? I mean,
Yeah.
everything that I've ever experienced is why I am who I am. And, some of it's the reversal of a lot of those things.
Hmm.
A lot of the things that I've learned, I'm unlearning. And I'm also just constantly learning. It's one of my, it just keeps me feeling alive and well. And so I'm just always, always learning. That's a huge part of who I am and why I am who I am. And, in the past 6 years or so, I've learned a lot more about this kind of coaching world and just the kind of metaphysical world and all the things and started to really realize how unbelievably connected everything really is, even though we like
Yeah.
as humans to kind of box things up and like put them in their like, very neat little spaces. Some people religion, some people metaphysical, some people spiritual, some people what, but really it's all completely connected. It's just a different kind of a language, I think, that we speak about it. And so once I got into that kind of arena as well, I feel like I am just discovering all the time why I am who I am and also who I am. So yeah.
Yeah. I love the constantly learning piece too. I think that's important for people to know, like, we are never going to know everything ever.
No, and that's not the point at all. So yeah, if that's your like you're going in the wrong direction if the idea is to know
Yeah.
everything. I think it's I know I've heard a quote somewhere and I think it's just so true. Like the wiser that you get, the more you realize you don't know.
Yeah.
Like there's so much. And I used to think I knew certain things, and I used to think I was very convicted to certain things and like very committed. And then things in my life would blow up in a way, a lot of times involving my children, who have been some of my greatest teachers for sure, that would cause me to have to rethink things. And
Mm,
I realized I didn't know anything. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's always shifting and changing, and you're allowed to do that. It's part of the
yeah.
experience.
Yeah. I uh I love me a good paradigm shatter.
Exactly,
Yeah.
100%. Actually, our coaching firm is called Paradigm Lift. So it's like not
Oh,
just a paradigm shift, it's a paradigm lift. So
that's cool.
love that too.
What kind of people do you typically coach?
So my husband and I coach entrepreneur couples. We have a system that we created many years ago now, about 5 years ago, when we went into full-time entrepreneurship. So I was always a part-time entrepreneur. My husband is an attorney, and so he was always working in like corporate attorney, right? He's working in firms, large firms. And then about 5 years ago now, we decided that we were going to leave that world and we were going to create our own firm so that we could be a little bit more in control of our life.
Mm,
And we had to really cram for that because that was going to be the first time that we were fully entrepreneurial. And when that happens, of course, you're like it feels like a huge risk in a lot of ways as well because no one else is writing your paycheck. There just aren't
right.
any guarantees. You're leaving all guarantees behind. And so, yeah, we just started kind of cramming, reading all the best books and watching all the best podcasts and getting advice and all these things. And out of all of that, we created this system, not on purpose. We accidentally created a system, just that we just kept repeating that ended up being like just gold for us. And we've been living it now for about 5 years. And so just late last year, we decided we were going to start teaching this to other entrepreneurial couples because it could just be such a total game changer. So it's a system that specifically is designed to help couples in a relationship become a partnership. And
Mm,
so there's because that's a obviously a different level when you start working together.
yeah.
It's like you need a
Yeah.
whole nother level of communication and all this different stuff. And so we teach couples to totally crush goals, to build dreams together, to build a business together, and also to just grow together instead of growing apart during that process. So my husband and I do that together. And then I full-time coach females, and I coach women who are in the coaching, consulting, leadership type space, who are just pouring into others all the time and sometimes really get depleted doing that. And I coach them specifically in a really radical, deep level of self-care and in embodiment so that it just makes their job and their life and everything a lot easier and everything flows.
Mm. I love that because as we were talking about earlier, I'm a holistic coach and the self-care piece is part of our health. And so it
Yeah,
fits
for
right
sure.
into, you know, what we're doing in
Yeah,
life.
and we don't talk about self-care. This is really a lot of what my book is about as well. But we don't talk about self-care on the kind of level that most people think of self-care. Like I'm not, when I talk about self-care, I'm not talking about skincare and bubble baths and massages. Like, yes, and that's
Hmm.
great. And believe me when I tell you I practice all those things religiously, but that will never heal your soul. So if you need to go deeper, which almost everyone does, almost all the time and almost for the rest of their life, like definitely me still all the time,
Hmm.
then there's because yourself is not just it's not just your meat suit, right? That's not
Yeah.
yourself. Yourself is made up of so many things, just like you were saying earlier with the idea of being a whole human, a whole being, a whole self. We have our mental health, we have our physical health, we have our emotional health, our spiritual health, our financial health, our, it just your sexual health, like it just goes on and on. And all those
Yeah.
things require care. So, and you can't care for all those things by doing a face mask.
Right.
So this is a very different level of self-care than most people are kind of used to talking about.
Yeah. And a piece I'd like to add is all of those different health pieces, they're all connected to each other.
Exactly.
I
Way more than we realize.
Yeah.
Way
And
more than we
honestly,
realize.
I feel like the one that's in the middle is your sleep health. Just, I don't know if it's from personal experience, but just because the importance of sleep and how it affects all of those things while all of those things are interconnected. So
So
like,
I have the craziest story, Katie.
okay, I
Okay,
have
this is not
stories.
about me. This is about my son. Okay, so
Okay.
I have a son. He's almost about to be 17. He'll be 17 this summer. And years ago, when we moved to this town, about 4 years ago, I took him. Of course, we were looking for, new doctor, new whatever, whatever. And so we went to a new dentist, and the new dentist, she's a holistic dentist, and she also specializes in airway, right, and things like that. And so one of the first things that she did was she looked to see if he could touch his tongue to the roof of his mouth, which I thought was very interesting. I've never seen a dentist do this before. And he
Yeah.
couldn't because apparently my 13-year-old son had a tongue tie that we did not know about for 13 years. Well, this child had been suffering for years by this point with IBS symptoms, multiple types of anxiety, um, we had a lot of ear problems with him. He had 3 sets of tubes. He had his adenoids out. He had his sinus widened, all these different things. And what we found out, which is so great. So one of the first things she did was she gave us a little ring, like an Aura ring, and they're pretty well known now, but this was a medical device
Okay.
and that linked to an app. And she monitored his sleep for like a week and came back, and this kid had the worst sleep apnea. Of course,
Mm.
because when you sleep, your tongue rests on the top of your mouth. And when it doesn't, it just keeps falling into the back of your throat. None of this I knew. So, what's so crazy is that, of course, immediately we started working on his facial structure. He had his tongue clipped, all the things. He did some therapy, all these different things. Magically, right? You would not think a tongue tie would have been connected to all these other things. But this kid has very, very little issues with his bowel now, almost nothing. He's not on medication for anxiety any longer. He is no longer in therapy. His therapist released him. Like you would not even believe. But when you do not sleep, which he was not for years, sleeping properly, when you don't sleep, it affects everything. So these things that we think, anxiety, who would connect anxiety with a tongue tie? Well, my
Yeah.
dentist, but who else? So it is just so incredible how, like you said, just how totally interconnected the brain, function and the brain chemistry and your body chemistry and where you hold your memories and your traumas and your all this, it's all connected. It's amazing.
Yeah. I'm just fascinated by this stuff. And even
Yeah.
like down to the individual pieces, like if you want to get really like nerdy like me, in the physical piece and the movement piece of our health, the way our bodies are designed is everything in our body is connected to each other. So the example I
Yes.
like to give is I can have pain in my ankle, or I can like twist my ankle or something and I'll get pain in my shoulder.
Yes.
And most people don't know that. It's called the kinetic chain. Most people don't know that, and so they'll think to focus the treatment or whatever on the shoulder, when in reality, the injury is in the ankle.
Right. Right.
And so like getting down to like even like all the pieces are connected, and then each piece has its own interconnected pieces, and it's just
Yes.
I'm
You're like the most
fascinated by this
amazing
stuff.
machine. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's the most incredible. And the deeper that you get into like the science of how you work and how connected you are, like just the more mind blowing it really is. Like totally crazy.
Yeah. Whew. Well, I'm gonna do like a hard, let's see, should we go left or right? Either way, I'm going the same direction. Um, I'm curious what your story is in like, do you have a story um in which you had like a total mind shift, or something that happened where you're like, this is enough, or something like that, and where um your whole life just changed after
Yeah,
the build up from the story?
for sure. I would credit a lot of where I am today, what I know today, with a really bad gaslighting incident that I had several years ago. I want to say it's about 7-ish years ago now, maybe 8, where I was being gaslit at work. And this was not, sadly, my first time to be gaslit at work. And it's always women
Hmm.
that did it. But I had been gaslit, and when you're gaslit, you start to question your own memory, your
Hmm.
own like it feels insane. You feel insane.
Yeah.
And that's not really typical of me. I have a lot of confidence. I know who I am. I know what I'm thinking. You know what I mean? Like I don't really struggle with that. But gaslighting is it's dangerous, right? and
Yeah.
and and someone gets like literally in your head.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I had been through this incident at work, and I was just full blown miserable. And again, not like me. Like I'm usually pretty positive and upbeat, and that's just like my personality always has been. And I experienced this period of time where literally I was crying on my way to work. I was crying on my
Mm.
way home from work. Sometimes I would have to sit in the, parking lot and cry for a few minutes before I went into work because I wasn't done crying because I knew what I was facing. And it was just horrible. And I was, yeah, I mean, for lack of any better term, I was pretty miserable. And I was to the point where I did not even recognize myself. And
Mm.
I missed myself. And I really didn't recognize the girl that I was being in that moment. And one night I was sitting in my bath crying, as I did so often. And I was like, I'm done. I'm sick of this. I'm so sick of being so sad and so confused and so jacked up. And like, something has to change. And my position was such that I could not just quit and go home. That would have been nice, and I could have gotten out of the situation. It wasn't like that. And so I had to figure out what my other option was. If I couldn't get out of the situation, what could I change so that this feeling that I was having would change? And I realized the only thing that I really had any control over was myself. And so I you know how sometimes just you just need something and the spark just comes, right?
Yeah.
So in that moment, I was just in such need, and I really didn't know exactly what to do. And this crazy thought came to my mind: affirmations. And of course, I'd heard of affirmations many times, and I thought it was a little bit woo, which now I'm like fully woo. So I'm like, okay. But
Woo
at the
for
time,
woo.
I was like, okay, that's pretty woo or whatever. And I thought also it's like for other people. It's not for me. Like it's for people who this and that and the other, whatever you name it. I had labeled it. And
Hmm.
so it was never something that I had personally really used. And in that moment, I was just in such desperate need. And that word just came to me, affirmations. And I literally picked up my phone off the side of the tub, and probably pretty dangerous, started using my phone in the tub. And we probably all do that. But like, good. I mean, I just searched it on YouTube, affirmations, positive affirmations, because I was like, girl, I need some positive in my life. Like right now, I need some positive, somebody else speaking positivity into my life.
Hmm.
And so immediately some positive affirmations, of course, tons of them came up. And I found one that had this beautiful, like it was just scenes changing in the background, just like it was the beach. And then it was like, it was just these very like calming, soothing,
Mm.
vacation like kind of scenes in the background. And this lovely man who was, saying these just really lovely things. And I was like, this is the one. And so I attached myself so hard to that thing for like weeks. But what was crazy is it led me down this kind of rabbit hole that I'm so grateful now that I went down. And it has completely and totally changed everything about me. But what's so cool is though that listening to that track on my way to work every morning, which I did like religiously. And then I wrote out a couple of my own affirmations that were really, really important to me. At the time, one of the ones that I remember the most, because I read it literally multiple, multiple times a day. Every time this woman would come near me, I would pull it out and read it like, and it said, I am responsible for my own emotions. No one else controls my emotions but me. And it literally only took me about 3 days. And it was like a complete shift
Mm.
where I could go into work, could just completely ignore her. She couldn't affect me. I did my job. I came, I left. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
changed my my energy and the way that my spirit felt very, very quickly. And
Mm.
so again, that just sort of like one thing led to another, to another, to another, and it has completely and totally and utterly, I mean, in no way does my inner life resemble what it was before. And yeah, so that was my kind of moment. So now I can literally honestly say that I'm just so, so grateful for that gaslighting because it led me where I am now.
Mm. I have two questions that come from that. Um, did this also change how you interact with other people, not just what's her face? That's what I'm gonna call her.
Whose name we shall not mention. Um, did it change it in like what way?
And like if and when you receive any negativity from anybody or
Oh,
no.
okay, girl. I like almost never have. That's the weird thing is like, but again, gaslighting is a totally is like a different thing, right? It really plays with your head. And I know a lot of people experience gaslighting in some form or other, sometimes in their romantic relationships, sometimes their children, their parents, their whatever, like in work, obviously environments and things like that. Um, and it's a dangerous game for sure. A
Yeah.
very, very manipulative, can really cause a lot of damage. But in terms of like, yes, I mean, well, nobody controls my emotions but me. You know what I mean? And that's
Mhm.
real. Like I
Yeah.
fully, fully embody that now. Nobody gets to dictate my emotions. I don't care what you do. I don't I mean, I just don't care. Like, it does not affect me, which is not to say that I don't ever like. I am still human. I will still go through emotions, of course,
Right.
but now I control them. So now, whatever emotions that I initially feel, I will move through them very quickly. And then get to that part of control where if I want to be happy despite what everything else, whatever's going on, then I control that. And
Yeah.
and that's how I live my life now. So yeah,
Mm,
definitely. I mean, yes, but also not necessarily immediately.
got it.
It was, it's been a long many years of work and many other experiences that have helped me, many what some people would call negative experiences that have helped me refine my control, refine my inner peace, refine my inner world so that it really is now, I really am now in a state of embodiment in that. And, at first it's just a lot of practice.
Yeah.
And now I don't really have to practice so much anymore. It's much
Mm,
more, it's more my nature, I guess you could say.
yeah. Like embodied, so to speak. Yeah.
Yep.
My other question was, I know you and I know what gaslighting is, but could you pretend
Oh,
for a
yeah.
second that we have a listener that's like, I don't know anyone who's never heard that term because it's kind of thrown around now, but
Yeah,
to somebody
yes,
who's
it's a
never
popular
heard that,
term.
how would you explain what it is?
So I would say that gaslighting is when someone tries to convince you that what you're doing or what you're saying or how you're being is not actually what's happening. And a lot of times that comes from this place of toxicity where when you confront someone about something, then the confrontation turns right back on you and is like, no, you've misinterpreted that, or that's not what happened at all, or whatever. So and like I said, it is it's actually kind of fascinating in a way, because people who are really good gaslighters, which I mean, what a terrible thing to be, but
Yeah.
they are just really incredibly gifted at manipulation. And since most of us aren't, we don't see it because we can't imagine that someone would be like that.
Yeah.
And so it is this thing where they continue to do that over and over and over again. Like for instance, I'll just give you like a really brief. So this woman would be talking about me at work at a level I could hear, and then like she'd be like, I didn't say that. Oh, no, I would never. You know what I mean? Like it was that kind of thing. But like persistent, pervasive, until you really do start questioning, like, did I hear that wrong? Did I misinterpret that? And that's the
Yeah.
whole point of gaslighting, is to make you question yourself.
Mm-hmm. Almost to a point of feeling like you're crazy. Like,
Absolutely.
like,
Like you
am I
you
hearing things?
genuinely start to question
Yeah.
your memory and your sanity.
Hmm.
Like it's wild. It's really wild.
Yeah. I had an ex-husband who like you said, like in the confrontation piece, somehow it would be my fault, and I believed him
Every
every
time.
time.
Yep.
Yep.
Until you start to think, my gosh, I'm a really bad person. Like, I
Yeah.
just, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a terrible wife, and
Yeah.
that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's scary. It is scary.
Yeah. And to now I just say to that, fuck that.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, you know, when you get really, really, really strong and really sure about who you are and how you think, and you're very aware of your own thoughts and things like that, it would be very, like now today, it would be probably, I would say probably very near impossible to gaslight me. But I also, again, years of being aware of my own thoughts, more aware
Yeah.
than I was back then.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, she has unveiled her beast.
Yes.
Yes.
I feel like there should be like a sound.
I'll put some like twinkle things
Signature
to this.
sound.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um, well, the last thing I want to talk about is, can we talk a little bit about your book?
Of course.
Do some promotion. I'll put the link in
Sure.
the description.
Shameless self-promotion. Oh
Yeah.
man, I usually have it right here with me and I don't know what I did with it. That's so crazy. Um, yes, I wrote a book, and it's such an interesting story because I get to call myself an author now, but it's such a weird title for me because I never set out to be an author. I may never write another book. We'll just have to see. But I tell people all the time, like, I'm not sure if I wrote a book, I channeled a book. Like, I'm pretty sure I channeled a book. So this book came through me in a matter of just a few weeks. And it was really a response to some things that I was seeing online from some women that I had known throughout my life, and some that I have known since, elementary school, and some that I've only ever met online. But over the Christmas break in 2024, I was seeing quite a number of women who were going through some really big life transitions. So some of them, a couple of them were just finding out that they were about to get divorced after many years of marriage. Some of them were struggling with their first child or their last child, leaving the nest, right? About to graduate in a few months down the road. And some of them, it was like job changes and layoffs and just different things, just huge, those big transitions that a lot of us obviously experience as we go through what is life. But it was really, really sad for me, because what I kept seeing is that whatever this role was that they were about to lose, it made them feel as if they had lost their identity. So again, kind of what we were talking about at the beginning is these women had attached their entire identities to a role, and losing that one role, they felt utterly lost. Like they did not know who they were, what they were going to do next, what they liked, what they wanted, nothing. Like they just felt so lost. And it literally broke my heart. And so my solution, I guess, to the issue was I knew that I couldn't reach out to every single one of them, hug them, hold them, tell them it was going to be okay, and then walk them through it, right? It's just not physically possible. And I also knew that if there were that many that I personally knew that were dealing with this, that there were thousands upon thousands more that I didn't personally know, that were not reachable from where I sat and what I was doing. And so I was like, I have to write this out. I have to write this down and give this to them, right? And so the book just literally just came through me. And it's so funny, because the way that it happened for me, I don't know if this is how it happens for other writers, but the way that it happened for me was that I just wrote furiously for like days, for a few weeks. And I hadn't reread any of it. And so when I went back to reread it, I was like, oh, first of all, this is really good. But I also was like, this is literally my heart. I just poured my entire heart out onto paper. And so I'm really proud of it in that aspect, is that like I really get to share my heart and the beliefs that I have about who we really are and the potential that we have, and how the world needs us to step into who we really, really are, and leave this crap that we've been taught for so long behind. And so I'm really proud of that. But also within the book is journaling prompts and exercises through every single chapter, so that people can actually, it's like coaching on paper, because it's the best that I could do, right?
Yeah.
And so it's got integration in it. If you want to do the work, then you can get started in the work just by, just within this book. And that was so important to me, because it will not help anyone to read a bunch of information and then put the book back on the shelf.
Yeah.
So I wanted it to be something that they could get into the experience and get into the work, and really, really get to know themselves better throughout, through reading this and actually doing what is in the book. So yeah, I'm very, very proud of it. And, I will always, it's important to me that it's out there in the world because of the message that it carries. But it is very unimportant to me, like, being an author or, a bestseller or whatever. It's very important to me, though, that the message is out there and that people are getting it. And my favorite thing is that women will say, I just ordered one for my best friend, or I just got a message today on Facebook that said my best friend sent this to me for my birthday. And I was just like, that's that's the best thing. That's the best thing that I could ever hear.
Yeah.
I just want to know that it's in the hands of women.
It's really cool I love that you add the integration piece because, I've heard that humans tend to be addicted to acquiring more knowledge without ever implementing
Yeah.
what they've already learned. They think, oh, if I just learn this next thing, then I'll have the answers or whatever, but they didn't implement the last thing that they learned. So I love that you
Yeah.
added that piece.
And
Um,
it's such a big difference. Learning and acquiring information is not necessarily the same thing, right? We
right.
know that. Like
Yeah.
it's just like I was saying before about, my little mantra that I had for a while, like I'm responsible for my own emotions. I I didn't really learn that for a while, and then I didn't eat, and then even that next level, like really truly integrating it and then embodying it, all different things. So just because you have words in your head does not mean you've learned anything at all. So
Yeah.
I wanted them to be able to learn.
I love that. And the identity thing. Oh my gosh. Like, how many times well, let me ask the listeners this question, and you can answer in your own car or wherever you're listening to
Mhm.
this is like, think of a role that you have, any of them, because we have lots of roles, and then ask yourself, who am I without this role? Are you still the same person? Or are you that so much integrated into the role that that's your identity?
Right.
And that's not always a bad thing, but I think without getting into the too sticky topic of like politics or religion or anything like that, or whether or not the earth is flat, like I
Mhm.
think people become so, I don't even know how to say it. Like they become so into this set of beliefs, it becomes their identity, and there's like no space for them to have that paradigm shift that we were talking about earlier, right? And so I think
Yeah, and then
that's,
when something comes along and rocks that, then what?
yeah.
Because something will come along and rock you. Like
Mhm.
that's kind of the whole point of life. So it will happen. So, but what happens when you're so attached to something that isn't like a universal law
Yeah.
or a universal truth? You know what I mean? Scary.
Good stuff. Where can people find you?
So people can find me I'm on Instagram and Facebook mostly, and I am just April Little on Facebook, and that is my private page, and you can totally friend me and I'll friend you back. Unless you don't have any friends, and then I probably won't friend you back. So make sure you have friends. And then on Instagram, I am the best probably place to find me is the Me First Paradox, which is the name of my book. And it's the underscore me underscore first underscore paradox. So there's an underscore between every word.
Okay.
Um, and that's a great place to find me, and you can DM me off of there as well. And yeah, those are my two main platforms because I am just that's all I can handle. That's my bandwidth right there.
No,
I
that's
have
good.
other stuff that other people do for me, but honestly, I don't even know how to find it. I'm sure you can link to stuff from one of
Yeah.
those two places. But yeah, and then of course, the book is The Me First Paradox, and it is on Amazon.
Yay. Well, I have one more question for you, and I
Sure.
ask everyone at the end of every episode, and that is, if the entire world stopped what they were doing and looked at you and said, please give me some advice, what would you say?
I think that the thing that I would want people to know more than anything is that ultimately every single choice really comes down, for me at least, to there really are only two things. And that is love and fear. And so every time that you make a choice, you're either moving more towards love or you're moving more towards fear. And I would just say every decision that you make, everything that comes up in your life, just move towards love. And that would change the world.
Beautiful. Beautiful beasts, April Little signing off. Until next time.